Well, it is hard to believe, but we are rapidly approaching the end of 2023, and in today's video, I want to reflect on my top 5 personal favorite Nintendo Switch games that did indeed launch within 2023 and that I completed within 2023, and go over with you guys some top recommendations that I would definitely say you should add into your Nintendo Switch library at some point in time if you're not already on there, and we have to dive through that list right now, starting with my number 5 pick of the year, which is none other than Sonic Superstars. Now, right out of the gate, I have to disclose, I am a big fan of 2D platforming games. If you are not a fan of 2D platforming games, this is very much what that is. In fact, if you are not a fan of old school Sonic games, you probably won't like this one because it's really just a classic Sonic experience with a fresh coat of paint and some very fun, enjoyable co-op gameplay that I do think is a big highlight within this game. You can only play it locally, unfortunately, not online, but there is a lot of fun to be had with local couch co-op in a Sonic game. There are a couple issues with the camera and how it chooses to follow a certain character at a certain time, and that did feel kind of wonky every now and then, but in all reality, it's a ton of fun. It's exactly what you would expect from a 2D Sonic game with a modern coat of paint, and I love to see it personally. I personally hope that we see Sega stick to the path of releasing a 2D Sonic iteration and a 3D Sonic iteration a few years apart moving forward at this point in time, and I think Sonic Superstars is exactly what it needs to be to bring back the Hedgehog with his 2D Sega Genesis era gameplay on modern consoles. And this game on the Nintendo Switch actually does run at a 60 frames per second rate, which is fantastic. So you're not taking a big hit on performance if you do pick up the Switch version of this game. However, if you own other consoles and don't care about the portable play factor, you definitely get higher resolutions with the other consoles, in addition to some better lighting and graphical effects overall. But the difference wasn't day and night to me, and I actually like to have this game playable portably. So Sonic Superstars is my number 5 pick of 2023, and we will continue on with number 4 right after a quick word from a sponsor that I'm very happy to work with, BetterHelp. Life's constant changes can be super overwhelming sometimes, and just like many of you, I've had my own fair share of ups and downs. Sometimes I forget to slow down and enjoy the current season in my life, but I've learned that mental health is something you should never ignore, and that's why I want to talk to you about today's video sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers professional, convenient, and accessible therapy. It connects you with over 30,000 licensed therapists. You can have your sessions through phone calls, video chats, or messaging, whatever works best for you. It's therapy tailored to your needs. You fill out a questionnaire and BetterHelp matches you with a therapist, usually within 48 hours. If you need to change therapists, it's easy and free of extra charges. If the therapist you're first matched with doesn't feel like the right fit, which can be common when starting therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing out about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. If you're considering therapy, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/sunbro. You'll get 10% off your first month, and it helps support the channel. Join over 4 million people who have chosen BetterHelp. Click the link below for more information and to support the channel. Take the first step towards a happier, healthier you today. My number 4 pick for 2023 is technically not a new game in 2023. In fact, it's the oldest game that is on this list by a long shot, but we are talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, because while this game was originally a Wii U title released back in 2014, the game was revitalized on the Switch with all of the DLC in one bundle and sold as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then Nintendo realized that the sales of this thing were just not stopping. Everybody who was buying a Switch was buying Mario Kart, and they decided to pivot and give us a nice DLC roadmap known as the Booster Course Pass. And there was 3 waves that dropped in 2023, and the last one, Wave 6, absolutely put my enjoyment for this game over the top once again. I got one of my favorite tracks, none other than DK Mountain, added into Mario Kart in the modern day, and it looks and plays incredible. There's a reason why people who own Switches also pick up this game, and it really revitalized my enjoyment of it overall. So Mario Kart is Mario Kart at the end of the day. Obviously, you know what to expect from the gameplay aspect, but I can't recommend enough if you are somebody who maybe has Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sitting on your shelf but has not gone through and played through a lot of the more recent content and recent tracks with the Booster Course Pass, I would definitely purchase that or become a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack member, because it is supported within that subscription as well, and have yourself some more fun with Mario Kart while we wait on what Nintendo is figuring out for the next true iteration, likely on their next generation platform. My number 3 pick of the year in 2023 is none other than Metroid Prime 1 Remastered. I can't quite talk about this game enough and recommend it enough to people who haven't played a Metroid game. I think that this is the perfect one to start with. It may have not been my very first Metroid experience, but it was the first one that I played to completion and really got hooked on, and I will tell you, between the atmosphere, the story, the setting, the boss battles, the exploration, the weapon upgrades, the constant feeling of progression that you get from unlocking Samus's various different suits, abilities, and weapon upgrades, you name it, you really cannot easily put into words just how enjoyable this game is. It is a 94 Metacritic rated game and very deserving of that, if not higher in my opinion. It's of course from the GameCube era, but not only was the GameCube already graphically impressive for its time, but Nintendo really went above and beyond, and Retro Studios I should say, with giving this thing a from the ground up remaster where it really reworked the lighting system, reworked the textures altogether, and they give you every single control option in terms of how you want to play this classic Metroid title, meaning you can select motion controls if you're somebody who played it on the Wii as part of Metroid Prime Trilogy, or you can select the original GameCube controls where you had to actually stop and press R and then use your left analog to look around, or the way that I enjoyed playing it this time, modern dual analog support. It plays like any kind of first-person shooter that you would expect, but this is not a first-person shooter. I'm not a first-person shooter guy. Even though it is technically a first-person shooter, it plays very different than that. It's a first-person action-adventure, puzzle-solving, platformer-style game with all of the exploration intact that you would expect to see from a game that is in the Metroidvania subgenre. It lives up to that hype. It's definitely one that for $40, I believe every Nintendo Switch owner should throw into their collection. You can pick it up digitally on the eShop or physically at a retailer, and I am now just hopeful that we get Prime 2 and 3 that I can play through next while we wait to see what Nintendo finally reveals to us for Metroid Prime 4. Number 2 on my list of 2023 Nintendo Switch games, and boy is it a close call between this and my number 1 pick, is none other than Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I warned you guys at the beginning of the video that I was a fan of 2D platformers, and boy does this game actually take that to an entire nother level. While Sonic Superstars is very enjoyable for a classic Sonic experience, I would argue that Mario Bros. Wonder is not only enjoyable for fans of the classic 2D Mario formula, but even if you weren't a fan of previous 2D Mario games, you still need to go through and give Wonder a try. The way that Nintendo brought this entire world alive with the visuals, with the creativity from each stage, it's really quite incredible. It is something they've gone out of their way to explain, and give kudos to who brought in a lot of these ideas. They got a lot of younger minds involved in the room with 2D Mario, and they gave it an unlimited development time, meaning there was no set launch date for this thing. They just told the devs, take the time you need, get all of the crazy ideas that you want to see implemented that you need, and go for it, and we got ourselves a masterpiece of a Mario game. This is in the Game of the Year conversation for 2023, and rightfully so. The Wonder Seed mechanics and the different stage morphs that happen whenever you go through that Wonder Seed section really feels like you don't know what to expect each time, because they just don't repeat themselves much at all. Every Wonder effect is unique, every world is a different theme. The story is of course what you'd expect from a 2D Mario story, but whenever it comes to completionists out there, I am somebody who likes to go through and 100% certain games that really draw me in. This game did that to me, and I'm proud to say that I did 100% complete this game, finding all the purple coins at every single stage, getting the flagpole at the end of every stage. Literally, you can go through and have a perfect run in a stage, and if you don't hit the very top of the flagpole, that doesn't count as 100%. Every single Wonder Seed accounted for, and watch out if you decide to tackle the special world and go through that and try to 100% it. You have a couple of the last stages, I'm just gonna say, are quite honestly some of the hardest in 2D platforming in history, period, but the payoff is absolutely there when you do finally conquer those challenges. And I had between 20 and 25 hours of probably total gameplay of just an absolute blast enjoying Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's a full $60 retail release. You probably won't find it on sale. anytime soon, but pick up this one as soon as you can because I definitely think it's worth it. Not to mention another co-op aspect, it does have some limited functionality in terms of co-op online. You can still play and see your friends in the world, but it's not exactly the same as what you would expect with going through each stage together. But there is local couch co-op with that more traditional style of progression, and it's just a ton of fun on all fronts. Make sure you own Super Mario Bros. Wonder at some point in the future if you don't already. Now, to anyone who's been around on the channel for any length of time, it is probably no surprise to you what my number one 2023 Nintendo Switch game pick of the year is. It is none other than Pikmin 4. Just kidding, I haven't played Pikmin 4, and if you've been here, you know that. But anyway, we are talking about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This is by far and away an incredible experience on every single level. If you enjoyed Zelda Breath of the Wild, you will enjoy this game. Almost guaranteed you will enjoy it to yet another level. I definitely feel like, as somebody who loved Breath of the Wild as the first open world iteration in a Zelda game, I still had a little bit of mixed feelings, wanting a little bit more walking away from that game. Obviously there was tons of content, but what Tears of the Kingdom did is take the foundation that Breath of the Wild laid and expanded upon it in every possible way. It did things from a creative perspective that I quite honestly didn't know was possible in game development, such as the fact that you have specific shrines and specific temples and puzzles and everything that you're supposed to solve to get further in the game. And while there is technically a correct way to do everything, quote unquote, you technically don't have to follow that footprint, and you can just get wildly creative, build your entire own contraption to do whatever you want to do and still successfully solve puzzles and shrines throughout the game. The fuse mechanic is fantastic, where you can just merge together shields and swords and all types of different weapons and items. They somehow managed to take like the endless possibilities of creativity in a creation style game, like a Minecraft if you will, and put it into a Zelda experience with one of the best stories in the franchise, if not the best story, period. By the time you're starting to ramp up to the end game of this thing, there are so many callbacks to old Zelda games and the lore that is just masterfully told, not to mention the fact that you don't even predict where the story is going necessarily. There's some really cool stuff that happens. Of course, we're not going to spoil anything in the video, but I can't recommend anybody who, whether or not you've played a Zelda game and enjoy them in the past, give Tears of the Kingdom a chance. It is definitely worth every single penny of the $70 MSRP. If you look at the grounds beneath Hyrule, which is an entire map, you look at how massive the same map of Hyrule is from Breath of the Wild, though many things have been redone in this iteration, and then you also have the skies above and various temples throughout that you have to conquer. It is so much content. Hundreds of hours can be spent in this game if you do choose to do so, and you probably still won't 100% it in that amount of time with the Korok seeds that you have to find, which is the only thing that's holding me back from 100%ing this particular game. But the side quests, the action, the combat, all of the different items and the temple experiences, and just the story as a whole, Tears of the Kingdom needs to be in every Nintendo Switch owner's collection, and that's where I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. What were your top 5 games if you had to put them into a list in 2023? Obviously, we've had a fantastic year when it comes to new game releases, and I would love to hear what your personal games that you enjoyed the most were. Do we have any overlap in our lists? Do you have entirely different games that you'd recommend me to check out? And lastly, what are you most excited for coming down the pipeline in 2024? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch the video on screen right now next. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.